Welcome to Your Future Starts Now, the go-to podcast for extraordinary women who are ready to step into their next chapter with authentic confidence. I'm your host, Gia Lacqua, empowerment coach, motivational speaker, children's book author, and girl mom. Whether you're a corporate powerhouse or an entrepreneur, this show is designed for you. Your Future Starts Now is more than just a podcast. It's a movement towards rewriting the rules of success for high-achieving women. Are you ready to get unstuck and step into your next chapter? If so, you're exactly where you need to be. Your future starts now. Welcome to Your Future Starts Now. I'm your host, Gia Lacqua. I want to thank you for tuning in today. I am so excited to introduce you to Anna Dearmon Kornick. Anna is a highly sought after time management coach, keynote speaker, top 1% globally ranked podcast host of It's About Time, and founder of the It's About Time Academy, a true Louisiana firecracker who has become known for making time management fun. Anna helps busy professionals and business owners struggling with overwhelm manage their time using her personality-driven heart method. Anna, thank you for being here. Welcome to the show.
Hi, thank you so much for having me.
I am so excited to talk about time management. This is a topic that is very near and dear to my heart, and I know many of our listeners as well. So today we're talking about overwhelm, burnout, and time management. Before we jump in, Anna, tell us a little bit about your background and how you came to be a time management coach.
Sure. It's so funny. I can tell you that when I was in kindergarten on career day, I did not walk up to the microphone and tell the audience that when I grew up, I wanted to be a time management coach. I mean, I didn't even know that coaching existed until about, I don't know, seven years ago. And so it's always so interesting to think back on earlier in my life and where all of these different experiences have taken me. So my very first job right out of college, and I promise I'm not about to read my resume to you, but my very first job right out of college actually took me to Washington, D.C., where I was the scheduler for a United States congressman. And that meant that my entire job was to manage every single minute of my boss's time from the moment he woke up in the morning until he went to bed at night. We're talking, my inbox was an avalanche of meeting requests and committee updates and dinner invitations and speaking requests, and there were reception invites. His wife would reach out and say, "Hey, can I have 30 minutes with the boss tomorrow?"
Oh,
that is literally the level of planning that went into it.
That's an important job.
I will say it, schedulers for our congressmen, our senators, our elected officials are some of the most superhero people out there, the biggest superheroes out there, because what they do enables their bosses to then do what they do. So I loved the job. I had so much fun with it. Being in DC, especially being a Louisiana girl, having grown up in a small town in Louisiana, was exciting, tons of young people, and I loved the hustle and bustle of DC life. But being a new professional, I was really starting to understand who I was as a person, who I was outside of college and high school, and who my family was and where I had grown up. And we really start to see our values beginning to emerge whenever we get to leave the coop, fly away from home and kind of be outside of our normal environment. And what I did not expect was how much I missed home. Because when I moved to DC, I thought I'm going to live here for 7 years and I'm going to make my way up and I'm going to work in all these different offices. But 5-6 months in, I realized that, first of all, not only could I not get good Louisiana food in DC, I couldn't get boiled crawfish, I couldn't get seafood gumbo, I couldn't get all that good Louisiana food that I loved so much. But what really broke my heart was that if I wanted to spend time with my family, I had to stalk the cheap flights on the Southwest website in order to go home, instead of just hopping in the car and running down the road to visit them. And that really started to take a toll on me. And so I said goodbye to DC. and hopped on a plane and moved back to Louisiana, where I started a 10-year career in the 24/7 world of crisis communications and government affairs, where literally every day was some kind of a disaster. Um, Hurricanes, oil spills, droughts, floods, plant explosions, nonprofit embezzlement schemes, universities on the brink of financial collapse. Every single day was some kind of chaos. And I played a role in bringing this chaos to order, and I loved it. Like, creating order out of chaos was just my thing, and I was good at it. It was very similar to the work that I did in DC, kind of creating order out of a chaotic schedule. And I loved it. But being there for people, my clients were always organizations or businesses, but it's people. And when you're there for people in their darkest moments, when they don't know if their business is going to make it to the other side of this, they don't know if their reputation is going to make it. They don't know if their building or their community or their livelihood is going to withstand the forces of this crisis that they're in. Being there, not just for the strategy, but for the support, can really begin to weigh on you. And so one day I looked up and realized that I was missing important life events. I was missing friends' baby showers and birthday parties and last minute brunches because I always had something to do for work.
Mm-hmm.
And one day, after too many mornings spent crying in the stairwell up to my windowless cinder block office, I just threw my hands up in the air and I was like, something's got to give. Like, I'm done with this. This is not the life that I want to live. We only get one shot at this. We get one chance to create the life and the experience that we have for ourselves. And this, for me, was not it. And so I did something very scary, and I walked away from what so many people thought was this very prestigious career that had me, talking with people on the news and escorting people down freight elevators to avoid TV cameras. But it wasn't the life that I knew that I wanted. And so I dove in to as much trial and error as I could handle. I read every time management and productivity and vision casting and goal setting book that I could get my hands on to try and figure out, how do I want to do life without copying and pasting instructions that someone else has given me? Because I've already tried that. I've already tried doing what people tell me to do. How can I find a way? How can I figure out how I want to live my life in a way that is uniquely me? And after, like I said, a lot of trial and error and figuring things out and asking questions, I put my foot down one day and said, oh, I'm going to be a time management coach. No, I am. I am a time management coach. And it is my mission to help busy professionals and business owners stop feeling overwhelmed so they can start spending time on what truly matters most to them. Because the best time management isn't about getting more accomplished. It's about spending your time on what truly matters.
Mm-hmm. I love that. That is incredibly, incredibly powerful. So much there to dive into. So I love how you went from being a scheduler to crisis communications, but along the way you listen to that inner voice of, I need to be near my family,
Mm-hmm.
or, I'm missing out on important life events and that matters to me. Right. Because I think so often we get caught in these cycles where we're going. And that feeling does creep up, but we try to repress it,
Mm-hmm.
right? We try to ignore it. And then usually that stress tends to manifest physically and in other ways. And so it's amazing that you had the intuition and the ability to tap into that inner voice and say, this isn't working for me,
Mm-hmm.
right? It may have served you for where you were in that point in your life, but recognizing that you need to make a shift.
Mm-hmm.
I'm curious, what did you do in order to tap into that inner curiosity? What were some of the tools and strategies you used to really figure out, you said, okay, this isn't working for me, but then what is it that I do want?
Yeah. Oh my goodness. That was a messy few years. I'm not going to lie. I think a lot of times people find themselves in a transition or at a pivot point and they just want to get to the other side. They want to know what's next. They want to land safely and softly into whatever is next. But that definitely was not the case for me. I remember when I was leaving my very last full-time job, everyone who said, so what are you doing next? I would give them a different answer just to see how it felt. I told
Interesting.
some people that I was going to be a freelance communications consultant. I told some people that I was going to open a PR agency. I told some people that I was going to help encourage and train the next generation of female leaders to run for office. That is literally one of the possible personas that I tried on.
Wow.
I considered studying for the LSAT and going to law school.
Yeah.
I met with a friend who was an attorney to see, is this a direction that I want to go at this phase in my life? I met with a friend who was a lobbyist. With my government background, was that an area that I wanted to move into? I even got a job offer to be a lobbyist for a trade association. And then it fell through at the last minute. And at the time, I couldn't figure out why. Now I know, because that wasn't the right path for me.
Mm-hmm.
But I'll tell you, the craziest thing that I did was I looked for inspiration everywhere,
Mm-hmm.
including the spam folder of my email inbox. One day I was opening up my spam folder, as one does occasionally, I guess, to see if there's anything real in there. And there happened to be an email from the Myers-Briggs company. Myers-Briggs, the personality assessment. I have always loved personality assessments ever since I, circled, are you mostly A's or mostly B's in Teen Beat magazine, back in the day. Always loved a personality assessment. And Myers-Briggs is one that I've always really enjoyed. And
Yeah.
if you're not familiar with it, it's the one with the 4 letters. Are you an ENTP or an INTJ or whatever? And in my spam folder, there was an invitation to an upcoming Myers-Briggs certification workshop taking place in New Orleans. And I thought it was fake. But it really piqued my curiosity, and I took a closer look at it, and I visited the website, and the website was legit. And I looked at how much this cost, and I said, okay, I think I can make this work. And I signed up, and I went to this Myers-Briggs certification program. And after 3 days, I walked away a certified Myers-Briggs practitioner. So now I can administer and interpret results. And while I was there, I learned that there was this thing called coaching, and that probably a third of the people at this certification workshop were planning to use the Myers-Briggs in their coaching practice. And I thought coaching sounded weird. I was like,
Yeah.
I don't know what I'm going to do with this, but I'll tell you, I'm not going to be a coach.
How funny.
And here we are.
Here we are.
Here we are. Once I finally allowed myself to really understand what coaching is about, once I experienced coaching for myself,
Mm-hmm.
someone from that actual workshop reached out to all of us probably a month later and said, I am doing free coaching calls for my certification. Who wants one? And in that one session, she helped me realize so much of what was holding myself back, and experiencing the power of coaching is what absolutely led me to saying, okay, this is it. This is what I'm doing. This is here it is. Thank you, spam folder.
Anna, that is amazing. I love the fact that you tapped into the universe and, like you said, looking for inspiration all around you in all sources. And I want to take a moment to just recognize and appreciate the fact that it is scary to leave something, and it is scary to step into that unknown. I also just love what you said about trying on the different personas and how you gave everyone a different answer. It's kind of like you go to the store and you try on different dresses until you find the one you want to buy, right?
Yes.
It's like, it's really no different, but we just don't think about doing it. So I think that's a really powerful exercise. But the fact that you tapped into your spam folder and found your future, can we just like talk about that for a minute? I mean, so, one of the best life lessons or advice that I have ever gotten is you don't have to have it all figured out, right? When we step into that unknown, it is messy. It is scary, right? And there's a lot that you don't know. And I think as high achieving women, we feel like we have to have it all figured out all the time. We have to have all the answers. And, I think the most powerful thing we can do is just find that right next step, right? And it is that right next step that led you to the right next step, to the right next step, to the right next step, right? And here you are. That's such an incredible story. I love that.
Thank you. It's wild for me to look back on. And so I still check my spam folder every once in a while just to see what kind of hidden gems are in there.
There's a valuable piece of advice. Check your spam folder every now and then. Awesome. So let's talk about time management. Talk to me about, in the work that you do and the people you work with, what is one of the most common mistakes that people make when it comes to time management?
Oh my goodness. When it comes to time management, it's one of those things in life that I think we all struggle with at some point or another.
For sure.
So many people tell me, no one taught me how to manage all the things on my plate. Why weren't we taught this in school? Well, what's so interesting is that, I'll tell you, I graduated from high school in 2003. If I had been taught time management in the early 2000s, I would bet that almost none of it would apply to how we live our lives today.
True.
Because the rate of information, the rate of change, the technology that we have access to, the way that we work has changed.
Sure.
And so often it's kind of like how we as high achieving women want to have everything figured out. We also want to figure things out once and not have to revisit that. Or we don't want to reinvent the wheel. We don't want to, continue to have to go back over and over again to something. But when it comes to time management, our lives are so constantly changing that if you are not revisiting and sometimes even reinventing the way that you manage your time, you're going to find that the way that you are approaching your time, or maybe what worked for you at one point, isn't going to work for you 6 months from now. What worked for you when you were in college with your paper planner and all of your colored pens probably worked great then, but it might not keep up with the speed of life now. Even though, don't get me wrong, I love a beautiful paper planner. But our to-do lists and the number and variety of responsibilities that we have as professionals, as partners, as parents, it cannot, our old methods can't keep up with that.
Yeah.
And even if you are a parent, so I have a 5-year-old and I have a 3-year-old. I have 2 little girls and they are constantly changing. Their school schedules change, their activities change. One of them is on the verge of hopefully being potty trained finally, but every single time they approach a different milestone, the way that I approach my time has to change right along with it. Yeah. And so you have to be, in order to have effective time management, you have to be comfortable with changing it. That coming up with that perfect morning routine that worked for you in one season of life may not always work. And that doesn't mean that it's broken or that you're broken. It's just that we have to be able to adjust. And so I'd say that first big mistake that so many of us make when it comes to time management is trying to treat it like a crock pot, trying to treat it like a slow cooker. Yeah. We want to set it and forget it. We want to decide once and never revisit it. But we've got to evolve the way we manage our time along with the way that our life evolves.
I love the parenting analogy. And, I've said before, parenting, of course, is the hardest job that we will have in our lives. And I think there's great experience there, in the analogy with the children of like, they're constantly changing, they're constantly evolving, and we have to keep up with them. And as we all know, logically, being rigid and inflexible, especially in parenting, is usually not going to set you up for success. No. And I think that's true in life, right? To your point, in today's day and age, it just doesn't. So how can we be more adaptable? How can we be more flexible and recognize that we need to continuously revisit our ways of working, right? And check in with ourselves and saying, okay, is this still working for me? Because it does become outdated.
Absolutely. I think that a lot of times we forget about the reflection aspect of implementing a new strategy or a new time management hack, is that we try it and we use it. And then if it works, we kind of forget to, in the future, ask ourselves, like you said, is this still working? How is this serving me? Or am I continuing to do something just because this is the way that I've always done it?
Yeah. Yeah, super powerful. So talk to us a little bit about, in the work that you do, you have the HEART method. So talk to us a little bit about how that can help busy professionals and business owners manage their time.
Sure. So when I was in my messy period trying to figure out what I was going to do next, I told you I dove into every time management book, every habit book, goal setting, all of these books trying to trying to make it all make sense. And I don't know about you, but I would read one book and then it would lead me to two more. And then I would follow that path and then it would recommend three other books. And so it's like every time I picked up one book, it would lead me to a few more. And I got so frustrated because I felt like in order to have a full holistic picture and understanding of how to create a system that works well for me, to adapt and evolve that system, to not only begin using it, but to implement it as a part of a true behavior change and create routines that actually stick, but make sure that they coordinate with goals and that I am creating a day that fits with my energy levels and, the position of Mercury in the solar system, whatever. Like, you have to read 57 different books in order to put all of the pieces together. And I loved it because I love to read. But what I found is that there are 5 key pillars that, when used in combination, when treated like a toolkit almost, you are set up to live the best version of your life. And so those 5 elements are habits, energy, your attention, recharge, and T for time management. Heart, habits, energy, attention, recharge, and time. You should have seen my face when I had the epiphany that all of those things actually spelled heart, because I for so long had said time management doesn't start on the pages of our planners. Time management starts by getting to the heart of what matters most. Because when you're crystal clear on what matters most, what your vision for the future is, what your personal core values are, only then are you truly equipped to effectively move things around on your calendar. And so what ties into intentional planning is building sustainable habits for yourself. It's not just saying, I'm going to start working out each day. It's okay, no, wait. What is your system for making sure you work out each day? What is going to be your cue? How are you going to reward yourself? How are you going to make this a sustainable part of your life so that it's ingrained? And then our energy plays such a big role in how we're able to show up. I think we all know what it's like to do the wrong type of work at the wrong time. Anyone who has ever tried to pull an all-nighter or who has tried to do just in-depth editing, highly analytical work at, 3:00 in the afternoon knows that some times of day just are not meant for certain types of work.
Sure.
But what's great is that also means that there are certain types of times of day when our energy is at its peak, that when you combine your best work with your best energy, you can soar. Your productivity just 10x's because you're playing matchmaker with your energy and the work that you're doing. And so, all 5 pieces, habits, energy, attention, recharge, and time, play such an important role in creating a well-rounded approach to how we manage our time. It's so much more than just time blocking and to-do lists.
Yeah. I love that advice. I love the HEART acronym. And I think it's so important to recognize that, a lot of times we get caught up in the external chaos and the external noise and the external demands. And as high achieving women, especially, those of us who are working mothers, we have a full-time job. We have a full-time job at home, right? Multiple full-time jobs, and we all have, 24 hours in a day. So to your point, it's, how do we cut through that external noise and get to the heart of what really matters and what's important, and tapping into our values to make sure that we are living a fully aligned life. So beautiful. And on this show, we talk about redefining success. So I would love to know from your perspective, how do you define success today, and how has that definition evolved for you over time?
Oh my goodness. There was a time when I envisioned success as being the woman in a power suit, walking down a hallway with intention and focus while talking on a cell phone, giving marching orders and barking, and just giving marching orders and giving instructions. And success looked like stepping out of meetings to take phone calls and being the person who had to step away from dinner in order to answer a crisis. For too long, that is what my picture of success was. And that is what I wanted to be until I actually was the woman stepping out of dinner to answer phone calls and missing events and opportunities because of work. You know, sometimes you be careful what you wish for, because then you just might get it and realize that oh, I didn't want that. And so now we have to start undoing it. So my definition, my picture of success is very different now. My picture of success is an uninterrupted evening after a full and fulfilling day at work, helping others achieve their biggest dreams through better time management and intention. But it's an uninterrupted evening where I get to spend time with my family. Success for me looks like freedom now. It looks like contentment and freedom and happiness. And it's not about a perception of power, which is what I used to think of. Instead, it's living life and spending time on my terms and no one else's.
I couldn't have said it better myself. I think it's so relatable. And the description you gave is so accurate of how we have this image in our head of what a successful woman looks like. And it's not until we work our asses off for years of grueling and killing ourselves to climb that ladder, and you get there, or you get to the, you're almost there, and you realize, is this it? Is this what I've been working so hard for? And why am I not happy? Right? Why am I not only happy, but why am I suffering?
Right.
So fascinating. And so I think it's really hard and really scary for women who are at that point to pivot, right? Because maybe you have the financial security, right? You've worked all these years that you feel like, oh, I don't want to throw that away.
Right.
And so
plus, what's everybody else going to think?
Yes, for sure. The biggest one of the external factor of what is everyone else going to think, and what is everyone else going to say about me.
That was huge. That was huge for me to wrestle with.
Yeah.
Because for so long, I think specifically about my grandmother. She was so proud of my big job and how I, worked with the governor and was in the paper and just all of these big things. And I really had to ask myself, what am I doing this for? Am I really going to continue on a path for someone else's approval? Or am I going to value my own approval? What is it that I truly want to do? Because no one else is coming to plan my life for me. No one else is coming to give me permission to step into the life that I want. That was a huge wake-up call for me. Realizing that, there's no one else coming to plan my life. It's up to me, and I get to decide. And the moment that you wake up and realize that, your whole life changes.
For sure. Once you realize you have that agency. Absolutely. Yes. I love that. Such powerful advice. And what's one thing that you want our listeners to consider doing differently or changing after listening to our episode today?
Sure. So we've talked a lot about knowing your values. We've talked a lot about looking for inspiration in different areas and really looking within anytime you want to make a pivot. But I'd love to share something that's a little bit more tactical, something that you can start doing this week that is going to make a huge difference in how you spend your time. And it's called a weekly planning session. A weekly planning session is the single most important 30 minutes that you can spend each and every week to step into your week ahead feeling calm, prepared, and ready for anything. Think of it as a meeting with yourself with an agenda to make the most important decisions for your week ahead all at once. What are your top 3 priorities for the week? What time blocks do you need to make sure that you have space carved out to achieve those 3 priorities? What are the tough spots in your week? Do you have a late meeting on Tuesday night? Is this week going to feel fast and frazzled, or is it going to feel open and calm? And how do you want to adjust your schedule accordingly? Based on how the week's going to feel, what do you want to eat for dinner? I mean, something as simple as, hey, that late meeting on Tuesday night, let me put a crock pot meal on Tuesday morning. Let me set myself up, or let's make something on Monday with leftovers for Tuesday. And then what's on your grocery list? What's the weather like for the week ahead? There are so many things that we can do to take care of future us later in the week. Because later in the week, it's going to be Thursday night. Future us is going to be tired. We're going to be frazzled. We're going to be hungry. And by deciding on Sunday or Saturday or Monday morning that, hey, you've got this. You've got dinner prepped in the fridge. I got you, girl. So my one tip, if you take something from this episode and you want to tactically apply it, carve out 30 minutes to think about your week ahead. Get that bird's eye view. Make those decisions in advance and let present you take care of future you.
Such great advice. I love the holistic planning. So unlike me, who's standing in the kitchen staring at the fridge and my kids are saying, "What's for dinner?" And I'm like, "I don't know."
Well, we've got 2 ketchup packets and some cold cuts. Good luck.
Exactly. And a box of mac and cheese. Oh my gosh, it's so true. But I do find when I carve out that time on a Sunday or a Monday morning just to plan out the week and be intentional about how I'm using my time and the different facets of life can be so powerful. So such great advice, Anna. Thank you so much. For those people who are interested in time management coaching or just learning more about you, where can our listeners learn more about you?
Oh, thank you so much. Well, first off, I would love for you to tune in to my podcast. It's About Time. I have new episodes that go live every Monday, either sharing a time management strategy that you can take and run with, or I'm interviewing other go-getters to find out how they're getting things done. I love taking a peek behind the curtain to find out how women are doing life. So definitely tune in to It's About Time wherever you listen to podcasts.
Awesome. I want to thank you, Anna, so much for being here, for sharing your insights and your expertise. It's really a pleasure to have you on the show.
Thank you so much. It's been my pleasure.
And of course, you can visit my website at gialacqua.com. Reach out to me on Instagram at gialacqua. Don't forget to subscribe, rate, and leave a review. This is Gia signing off with gratitude for your time and energy. Our mic drops, but the movement continues. Until next time, your next chapter is waiting. Take care.
That concludes another empowering episode of Your Future Starts Now. Before we wrap up, I want to thank this incredible community of high-achieving women. Your energy, resilience, and commitment to growth are the driving force behind what we do. If you enjoyed today's episode, please rate it, leave a review, and don't forget to subscribe so you never miss an episode. Your feedback fuels our mission to empower high-achieving women just like you. And of course, share Your Future Starts Now with the extraordinary women in your life who are also on a journey of healing and empowerment. Connect with us on social media, share your thoughts, let us know what topics you'd like to explore in future episodes. Stay connected on Instagram at gialacqua. I encourage you to carry the energy of this conversation into your day and keep on supporting the incredible women around you. Until next time, remember, your next chapter is waiting.